Hey, I'm Blair Best. It's Tuesday here on The Story, and tonight, Northwest governors double down on their sanctuary status, telling Attorney General Pam Bondi that it's up to the feds to enforce immigration laws, not the states. Plus, Portland's first site for people living in RVs will soon close, why some are afraid of losing their vehicles and why others are just moving across the street. But first, the mental health crisis is seen across many parts of the Northwest. But when that world collides with the criminal justice system, finding solutions can be hard, even when they're court-ordered. It's our big story tonight. Okay, late last week, we learned the Oregon Health Authority has racked up more than $250,000 in fines since June, connected to how many mentally ill people in jail are waiting for treatment at the state hospital in Salem. It's part of a federal judge's order finding the state in contempt, requiring OHA to pay $500 per day for each criminal defendant ordered to receive mental health treatment who waits longer than a week in county jails. It's a federal standard that Oregon has largely failed to meet for decades, but we were not alone. The state of Washington also struggled to move mentally ill people from jail to treatment in a timely manner. It's an issue the state appeared to fix in 2023, drastically cutting down wait times from months to mere days, thanks to major investments by the state legislature. But that success in moving people from jail to treatment exposed a new problem. Mentally ill people accused of crimes who judges let out of jail are waiting longer and longer in the community for the help they need. And as Susanna Frame reports, some of those defendants reoffend before the state comes along with services.
2 years ago, Seattle police rolled up to a West Seattle home after a 911 call about a burglar in the area.
Sir, Seattle police. What's going on? Do you live here?
At the scene, they find a man who quickly becomes combative.
I can do whatever I want.
Stay there, you're gonna get tased.
No, I'm not.
Police have encountered a person experiencing a mental health crisis.
Under the federal law, I own this property.
He refuses to follow police orders.
I don't need to listen to you.
He won't sit down.
Sit down.
You're not going to tell me what to do. You can pack your bags and leave.
He even chokes his dog.
Don't look at the dog.
Put the dog down.
When police finally approach, it's chaos.
Sit down.
You can't see the detail, but officers say the man bit two of them
Stop. Stop. Stop biting. Stop biting.
and tried to gouge their eyes.
There you go.
There you go.
Was that necessary?
Come on, man.
Okay, you're under arrest.
After SPD took Garrett Molino into custody, security tape showed he was the prime suspect for the initial call. Earlier in the evening, you see him entering the home. There he is breaking into the gate and damaging tens of thousands of dollars worth of sculptures in the yard and home.
And we also have some property damage in the backyard here.
Prosecutors charged Molino with malicious mischief, burglary, assault, and animal cruelty. He had 2 open domestic violence cases on the books as well.
Relax.
Get off my property.
Molino wasn't behind bars long. 3 weeks later, a King County judge released him from jail. He was out on his own recognizance. While waiting for his trial out of jail, attorneys tell the court Molino is extremely mentally ill. So with this document, a judge orders DSHS to evaluate him.
You can get in your car and go back.
That made Molino one of about 1,300 mentally ill defendants in Washington waiting for their trials out of jail, while also waiting on DSHS for an evaluation or psychiatric treatment.
It just doesn't make any sense, frankly.
Gabby Charlton is the prosecutor who handles these cases for King County.
Do you think there's a safety risk with having this group of people out of custody? Absolutely, because it's an unstable population.
In the last 2 years, the number of defendants waiting out of jail for state help has gone down by about 25%. But the amount of time they've been waiting has gone up. In 2019, out-of-custody suspects waited an average of 3.5 months for state mental health services. Since then, the time has nearly quadrupled. People are now waiting, on average, more than 1.5 years.
It's unfathomable to me that it could take that long.
Garrett, how do you spell your first name?
Garrett Molino was still waiting for his evaluation when Thurston County deputies got a call he threatened to kill someone.
Unfortunately, today you're going to be coming with us. Why? No. No.
Family in crisis. Merlino accuses the police of trespassing, assault, and making things up.
You're lying, and it's abuse of your power. And I'm not going to handle it.
A few minutes later, the encounter turns violent. Once again, Merlino is on tape, biting and gouging the eyes of officers.
I'm gonna tase you. I'm gonna tase you. You tried to gouge my eye.
Should Garrett Merlino have been out on the street that night?
Oh, absolutely not.
This is Thurston County Sheriff Derek Sanders.
Watch his mouth.
4 of his deputies were injured on the job that day. Prosecutors charged Merlino with assault, harassment, and resisting arrest. The King 5 investigators have exposed for years the state has struggled to get mentally ill defendants the help they need. A decade ago, DSHS was sued in a case called True Blood for leaving people in jail for months waiting for treatment. In 2023, the state turned it around, drastically reducing wait times for those in jail from 4 to 9 months to an average wait time of 5 days. But wait times for people out in the community went up.
Has the state of Washington just forgotten about these people that are out in the community? What would you say to that?
No, I would say we have not forgotten them.
DSHS officials say a federal judge's order in the True Blood case forces them to give the first available beds to people waiting in jail.
How important would you say this issue is to the state of Washington?
Oh, for us, again, it is a very important issue that we want to be focused on and addressing, much like we did with the True Blood case and everything that we've done there. We want to do the same thing here.
Get on the ground now.
No, I'm not.
A year after Garrett Merlino was charged with attacking Seattle police officers and then let out of jail, records show another mentally ill person waiting for an evaluation carried out an act of violence. Jake Berman of Des Moines had been waiting 3 months for a psych exam when he allegedly beat his neighbor bloody, unprovoked. 2 weeks later, at his condo complex, he's accused of brutally beating and stabbing another neighbor to death with a pair of tweezers.
We're gonna have to reprioritize what we're doing. That's what it comes down to. The state's got a lot of money. I know that we're going through a crunch right now, and I don't think that excuse is good enough for anybody. I think at the end of the day, citizens of all political backgrounds and makeup want to see this problem fixed.
Now, it's important to note most people with mental illness do not commit crimes. Research shows they're more likely to be crime victims. But the population we're talking about has already entered the criminal justice system, and a judge let them out of jail after being charged with crimes like robbery, assault, and domestic violence.
Because they just kind of swept us in here and never paid us any kind of mind after that.
Okay, that's how some homeless people feel who have been staying at the city-run site for RVs in Northeast Portland. The site is called the Sunderland RV Safe Park. It's run by the Salvation Army and opened about 2 years ago. Think Safe Rest Village, but instead of tiny homes, parking spots for RVs and trailers. The site can hold up to 55 vehicles. It was the first of its kind in Portland when it opened in 2023. Now, here's where things have gotten heated in recent months. The land is owned by the city of Portland. The Bureau of Transportation once used it for storage, but they needed the land back for their equipment. So, in December, the city stopped accepting new people into the site and talked about closing it completely. It was then left up to the new city council to decide whether they would fund it in this year's budget. It would have cost $2 million to keep it going. Councilors voted against that, but allocated $650,000 to keep it open through September 30th, meaning those staying there have been told they have until the end of next month to leave.
At first it was great. The staff were wonderful. They genuinely seemed to care for us and helping us out. And then these last couple months, it just took a nosedive.
That's Michelle. She's a full-time online college student. She bought her RV with student loan money and has been staying at the Northeast Portland site since it opened.
Oh, I made the president's list this year for academics, or this quarter. I'm a 3.9 GPA for the last year. I can't focus on my schoolwork because I've got that in the back of my mind. It's like a big cloud looming over you.
Michelle tells me not only does she have to leave, but it's not guaranteed she'll be able to keep her trailer.
They have all these new guidelines for us being able to keep our houses, our trailers, And most of us don't fit those guidelines, so they're not going to let us leave with our trailers.
One of those guidelines, she says, is having insurance, something she tells me she can't afford.
It was really unfair, and it made us feel kind of like tricked, because when we came in here, we were never told we were risk losing our place. We were told we would get help getting a real place. I have a case manager in there, but there's just like no offers, no, like, I put in applications for like the Home Forward, which is Section 8 and all that, and it's just, I just got approved to be on the wait list to get on the wait list for Section 8 in Tigard, or not Tigard, but Washington County, which I don't even know where that is.
As for all the vehicles, I'm told the city will not tow any of them to the street. Instead, they'll tow them to a city storage lot. People can pick them up there as long as they follow a list of property recovery rules. So instead, many have left the site and parked their RVs right across the street. This woman named Misty didn't want to show her face on camera, but I caught up with her as she was moving out of the site today to move in with her boyfriend right across the street.
A lot of people have the misconception that we're all out here because of drugs or, things like that, and that's not really the case at all. I know for us, we lost both of our parents, and so to have that support system, we kind of felt like this was going to be that, and that's not been the case at all.
Now, Misty was offered a tiny home, and here's what she tells me happened with that.
I actually was offered a tiny home, and my car broke down on my way to the intake process in the middle of the road, and it was there for 4 hours. I walked up to the meeting with the tiny home. I got there at 3:26, was supposed to be there at 3 o'clock. When the car broke down, it was a little after 2:30, so I'd given myself enough cushion. I walked in high heels and a skirt because I dressed up for the occasion, all the way from 92nd and Foster up to Reedway on 122nd, and when it was 100-degree heat out, they wouldn't talk to me.
Because you were late?
By 26 minutes, yep.
Now, as you might imagine, now her trust in that system is gone. A city spokesperson tells me most of the shelter staff have left the Northeast Portland site, but that the city's goal is that no one will return to the streets. And they're working with Multnomah County to get everyone into some sort of housing or transferred to other shelters. But let's talk numbers now. Since the site opened in 2023, 160 people have stayed there. 84 of them were chronically homeless, which means they have at least one disabling condition and have been on the streets for at least a year. Of the 160 people who stayed there, 26 went into permanent housing, 13 left for temporary housing, 45 went back into homelessness on the streets, 7 people went into shelter, another 7 went to what the city calls institutional settings, and less than 5 fell into the other category. Now, people like Michelle, who we heard from earlier, have been told they can also go to overnight shelters, although it's unclear where they would go during the day. The mayor does have plans to open 2 day centers by the end of the summer.
I just don't understand his thought process and how he thinks that the drop-in shelters are the answer when it's not even a Band-Aid for a solution. It's not even really a solution. It's just being homeless during the day.
We came here with high hopes, and we're leaving with broken promises, basically is what it boils down to.
We feel abandoned, I think, by the people that work here and the people in the city.
Oregon and Washington leaders are pushing back against threats from the Trump administration over sanctuary immigration policies. Both governors say the state will not change their values as U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi adds pressure. Bondi says she could file criminal charges against public officials and pull federal funding to states like Oregon and Washington that don't help with federal immigration enforcement. Governors Tina Kotek and Bob Ferguson say they won't budge. Evan Watson has the story.
The U.S. government is pressuring states like Washington and Oregon to change its sanctuary laws and immigration policies. Washington Governor Bob Ferguson says there's no chance.
Washington State will not be bullied or intimidated by threats and legally baseless accusations.
Last week, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi sent a letter to sanctuary states and cities across the country saying sanctuary policies are obstructing and thwarting a federal crackdown on illegal immigration. Through sanctuary policies, local and state resources don't cooperate or assist with federal immigration enforcement.
if people are doing bad things. It is the responsibility of the federal government, who now just got how many billions of dollars more to do their job. Do your damn job and leave us the hell alone.
Oregon Governor Tina Kotek responded to AG Bondi in a letter saying Oregon doesn't obstruct immigration enforcement and the state is in compliance with federal law. Washington State Representative Julio Cortez says sanctuary laws represent a promise.
This law is about keeping local resources focused where they belong, on protecting public safety and not carrying out the work of federal immigration enforcement. It ensures that when a parent drives their kid to school, when a worker gets to their job site, or when someone calls 911 in an emergency, that help will come without fear that help will come with handcuffs and deportation.
Bondi says the Trump administration could cut contracts and grants to sanctuary areas as punishment for their lack of cooperation. Ferguson says he'll take that on.
Look, we have to navigate that. We're going to have to find a way to navigate the billions of dollars in cuts to Medicaid. That we also have to make sure we are, as a state, upholding our values as a state.
Evan Watson joins me now. So Evan, tell me, have you heard back from the city of Portland?
We did hear back from the city of Portland. Portland received that letter from Attorney General Bondi, just like Seattle and Oregon and Washington. And the city attorney for the city of Portland responded today in like a 2-sentence email, essentially saying that Portland complies with federal laws and Portland will continue to comply with federal laws.
Okay, so it seems like Washington leaders have sort of come out in full force here, pushing back against the DOJ, while the response here in Oregon appears to be a little less public.
Yeah, Governor Kotek had a longer letter in response too, so you'd give some credit there as well, but the strategies are very interesting. Washington and state leaders and state representatives having a big press conference saying we won't be bullied, coming out very publicly, very on TV, and Portland saying, hey, we still agree with what's saying here, like we like what we're doing with sanctuary laws and everything else, but just we're in compliance. Thank you very much. Don't pay any more attention here.
Right, that's it.
Two different strategies of how to handle this, both saying we're going to defy what you're saying, that we should end our sanctuary policies.
Okay, Evan Watson, thanks so much.
You got it.
So let's hear it. Do you agree with Governors Kotek and Ferguson defying the DOJ, doubling down on our sanctuary status? Do you think there's any middle ground to be found on this issue? Let us know. Email the story at kgw.com or call and leave us a voicemail, 503-226-5090. Well, up next on the story, we'll share some of your thoughts on another federal funding threat for sanctuary states, this one targeting money for crime victims. It was our big story last night, and we have new numbers on how much of this money Oregon has received in the past compared to now. That's next, when the story returns.
The president is absolutely welcome to disagree with the state of Oregon on our policies and our laws, but holding funding hostage is not the way we resolve disagreements in the United States.
Now let's get to some of your thoughts on our big story last night, looking at a new lawsuit against the Trump administration, this time over funding for the Victims of Crime Act, or VOCA. Now, the fund dates back to the Ronald Reagan administration. It's paid for by criminal fines, not tax dollars, and given out through grants to programs that help survivors of crime, things like domestic violence and sexual assault. The Trump administration is threatening to cut these funds for sanctuary jurisdictions like Oregon, which doesn't help with federal immigration enforcement. Attorney General Dan Rayfield joined 21 attorneys general suing the administration over withholding over $1 billion for crime victims nationwide. In our state alone, 146 victim service providers rely on the federal dollars and face a loss of about $15 million this year. Now, we heard from one of those service providers last night and also had Washington County District Attorney Kevin Barton join us live for how the cuts would affect his office. You can find the full segment on the KGW YouTube page. And we got a few comments like this from LJ. Trump trying to force Oregon to change our sanctuary city jurisdiction by threatening funding for crime victims just shows how he doesn't care about people in need, but extending his authoritarian power. ML chimed in saying Trump is committing extortion to force compliance in places where states, cities, universities have always had some autonomy. It's criminal. He should be charged with extortion. But some people, like this viewer on YouTube, feel differently. How about communities join together with local organizations and cities to offer assistance to those in need? The federal government is not our mother. It's time for citizens to clean house in their local government. And while there are certainly alarm bells ringing this week for service providers and district attorneys regarding this money, VOCA funding has been on a sort of roller coaster for at least the past decade. Here's a look at Oregon's VOCA funding since 2015, according to the State Department of Justice. Relatively stable at first, with a big jump in 2018, but it's been mostly falling ever since, with just $9 million in 2024 and a projected $15 million in 2025. That's now being withheld due to our sanctuary status, hence the lawsuit. Now, as far as why those numbers have dropped off in recent years, remember, the money comes from criminal fines, not taxpayers, and the cases being prosecuted by the Federal Department of Justice have not yielded major criminal payouts. Between 2008 and 2017, deposits into the VOCA fund averaged over $2.5 billion a year. But from 2018 to 2023, that average plummeted to $737 million annually, which means that each state receives less, translating to providers getting less, leading to crime victims receiving fewer services. We're back right after this. And before we go tonight, something a little lighter. Get this. Someone here in Oregon recently proved it's never too late to return a library book. The San Antonio, Texas Public Library recently received this book in the mail, along with an unnamed letter from someone in the Beaver State. The book, Your Child, His Family and Friends, was checked out in the summer of 1943, making it about 82 years overdue. The person who mailed it wrote that they found the book in their late father's belongings. They believe their grandmother checked out the book when their dad was just 11 years old, and she must have taken it with her when she was transferred to work in Mexico City. The sender wrote, "I hope there's no late fee because Grandma won't be able to pay for it anymore." Thankfully, the library system in San Antonio stopped charging late fees in 2021. The book is currently on display at the library and will eventually be sold. Well, that's the end of our show, folks. Thanks so much for watching. The good stuff is coming your way next. And don't forget, everyone has a story to tell. If you ever miss an episode of The Story at 6:30, we re-air it at 8:30 and 10:30 on our TV app, KGW+, which you can download for free on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV. In the meantime, have a great Tuesday night. I'll see you right back here tomorrow night at 6:30.